Siege of Orison. It was wow. I mean, there's no way other to describe it than just wow. Finally, Star Citizen being what we had dreamed of Star Citizen as far as ground combat goes. Jolly, what were your initial thoughts of Siege?
I'm not a massive FPS player, but this one was really entertaining. I was very happy with how they laid it out. I liked how the stages went through, how you had to work your way through the whole thing. The AI still is not completely intelligent, so that helped us out quite a bit. But it's a great for organized group. I don't care if it's only 5 people or 50 to get through the operation itself, get over to the platform, and kill off the main boss. But I thought it was a very well established mission for organizations to do, or groups of people to do.
Yeah, it was definitely great for our organization. We ran a number of very large groups, including one that was more than 40 players, I believe, or right at 40. And it went real well. So, Turin, you probably ran it even more than I did. What were your thoughts on Siege?
Well, I'm an FPS convert now in Star Citizen. I wasn't really into it, as Jolly, alluded to as well from the beginning. But I really ramped up my liking the FPS play within Star Citizen. And if you followed this show in the past, I'm a big ship driver. That's usually what I talk about a lot. And so now I'm really hyped about it. I followed it from the PTU testing up until they launched it in PU. There was some initial concerns with it when it rolled out, and having to do with ganking and things of that nature. I thought CIG did a fantastic job in trying to address those concerns and not dial it back so much to where we couldn't have fun in it. But it was a really good fun time.
And last but not least, Nom, I know that you ran it with us a couple times. What were your thoughts?
Well, overall? I actually played it more in PTU than when it went live. So I think there was a lot more ganking and stuff like that going on in PTU, which is fair because people are supposed to try to break it as much as they can there.
Sure, that's the reason that they're all jerks and idiots.
No. The thing is, they initially build it as this PvE event, even though is anything PvE in a sandbox game. You can't really say that. There's always the possible element of player on player.
The antisocials will find a way to grief. That's just at the end of the day, antisocials will find a way to grief people. There's no way around it.
And they have made some adjustments to address some of the initial issues. It's not impossible for people to do that, but it got a little harder. And honestly, I very rarely saw actual ganking going on once it went live. Most people were having too much fun, or the gankers just got bored,
right?
Or they got cornered. So it was a lot of fun. I wasn't very optimistic about it at first, but it's probably the most well done event they've done to date. So
I agree completely. So, Turin, you actually wrote this segment.
Well, thank you for the lead-in, Jay.
So I'm going to ask you some of these questions just to get us started on the roundtable. And can you kind of go over what the premise was of this? I mean, largely for most of us that are FPS guys, we don't care what the premise is. Just tell us who to shoot. But there was kind of a cool premise that they had. What was it?
Well, it was all tied to, I guess, the celebrations. If you go back to the annual, the IAEA was held there, et cetera, et cetera. And so the lore piece of it was that Ninetales, if you don't know who Ninetales, what the organization is, it's the pirate org that finds itself in Crusader, and they wanted to get back at Crusader Industries. And so they took over 4 platforms outside of Orison, about, I think it was 35 kilometers or so.
I think it was 100, almost 100.
Almost 100 outside of Orison proper. And there are 4 lieutenants that of the Ninetales and 1 big boss that decided to do this raid. And the big thing was they have the ID friend info inverters that they've set up, so you can't fly into it. And I thought that was very genius by CIG, and part of the, really trying to focus it down to field combat, ground combat. You couldn't that's the 35 kilometer bubble that was around the area. You couldn't fly into it. And so the idea was that you had to take this one lone shuttle out to a platform and work your way through 4 platforms of exceeding complexity to find the lieutenant, get the code, turn off the inverter for that platform, move on to the next platforms, all the while at the very end find the heavy transport or some transport to fly the last way over to the admin platform, which is the final platform, to take care of the final lieutenant, the big boss. And there was a one side quest that really wasn't published out there a whole lot. People, I think it was discovered as you
By
moved
accident.
along by accident. I don't know if it was by accident or what, but if you were a suicide guy, you could take a shuttle to the admin platform at the very beginning, turn off the data thing, and everybody gets go cash. But it was really, I think, well designed. I'm like Nam. I didn't think it was going to work at the very beginning with all the platforms and the shuttles. And there were some, and we'll get into it as we talk about it. There were some issues and some cautions and things that they probably need to look at and work on, in the future to make it better. But for the most part, it was a fantastic, well-designed mission. But that was the premise. NPC pirates take over. You got to take out the pirates. Turn off the inverters. Everybody wins. Everybody gets rich. We're good.
Oh, I completely agree. Nam, what was your impression there of kind of going through it the first couple times?
Like I said, I was pessimistic at first, but especially talking about the shuttles. Each shuttle is basically another choke point where people could be killed and stuff like that. And but it largely wasn't a problem after a while. I'm trying to remember what they did exactly. They might have adjusted some barriers and stuff at the exit, so it was a little harder for someone to be out of sight and take out people as they come off the shuttle. Not that it's impossible, but it got a little better. But I'm trying to think. You couldn't draw your weapons until you got out of the shuttle on the first platform. Which,
well, I think
made
that
you
was to
feel a
keep
little
from some
nervous.
griefer with a pistol in the back shooting everybody as they were trying to get off the shuttle.
Exactly. And that
Yeah.
it is just you gotta have trade-offs like that. I mean, you feel a little exposed and you gotta walk a few feet away from the shuttle before you can even pull out your rifle.
Yeah.
So you do feel a little vulnerable until that point.
Yeah, well,
You
it was
do.
kind of like you're wearing the hospital gown out to the daggum place. Which
Oh, don't even get me
sometimes does
started
happen,
on those guys.
you know?
So let's talk about, the first platform there had this bar that was maybe 100 meters in, and there were constant spawns on the left and right. And I can't tell you how many hundreds of noobs I saw come running through there and get slaughtered and never made it past that, just over and over and over again. I loved it. And I think the other thing, AI was generally pretty stupid and were easy to kill, and 2 or 3 people could do it. But every now and again you'd pop on a low pop server and it was like the Delta Force had babies with the Navy SEALs, and out came these AI out of the lockers that were just heat-seeking missiles. And Turin, you were on one of these servers with me.
I think you and I were on one of the first ones when we discovered it. Yes.
Yes. And there were 4 of us on a team, and we were in a fight, a big fight constantly, just trying to stay alive and heal people.
Yeah, I'd never seen AI in Star Citizen actively envelop you and feint and then swing. How many times, Jay, did we say, "Hey, they're swinging left. Hey, they're swinging right. Oh, we got fire coming from the rear."
And then one would rush you.
one would rush you while the other ones were swinging left to come around, and you would swear. I mean, we were sitting there going, these have to be devs. They cannot be AI.
I mean,
The devs are controlling these dudes. Okay. But it wasn't. It was low pop servers, and it allowed the AI program to fully run without the actual load of the server on it. So it was exciting to see. Not when you were getting shot at, but it was exciting to see.
Well, and so the one thing we learned from that was silencers are your friend.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You don't go out without a silencer on your weapon anymore. And so
Right.
we did all this work charting up how much damage using a silencer over a compensator gave us. And all of a sudden it was like, well, it's like 20% damage. You're going to have to hit them with one more bullet out of your FS9 to kill them, but it's worth it. It's worth it to just be able to sneak up and move and shoot and not have to worry about them enveloping you.
Yeah. So that was really
idea.
Go ahead, Nam. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's a good idea to keep a silencer or two in your pack. So if you pick up a rifle, slap it on there and go. I mean,
yeah, we figured
many
that
times
out.
I have pulled up. Yeah, many times I picked up an FS9. I wish I had a silencer on me to throw onto it.
Every time I went out to there, I had a 3X optic and a size 2 silencer on me in case I needed to pick up a FS9 or a P4. And then the other thing that we found that was really helpful for small teams was lasers. The ability to flip those on and point at stuff and circle it and go, hey, right there is where I want us to go, was huge. I mean, it was things you learn from having to be in combat for 3 hours straight.
So there was just by design, there was a lot, like we've already mentioned, there was some dangers right from the very start, which are different, particularly from the other events that CIG has run. We all remember Xeno Threat, and there's danger in it, but it's not from the very get-go. So when you get off of that platform, like we said, there's multiple funnels and kill zones as you move through the entire complex. Your spawn closets are around every corner. I think, that became a term that's entered the lexicon of how we operate as an organization now. As we move through bunkers and we move through places, we're looking for the spawn closets. And then the other thing was, just when you think it's so safe to go back outside the building, they've already spawned again. They're ready to hit you again, unless you complete the objectives that you need to complete for that platform. So that meant that if you were in a group that decided to skip something and you were coming on as a follow-on, you may have to face the same, ninja NPCs that the rest of the group just decided to walk around. So it's really well designed from that.
Which is kind of the weird part. You could sit there if you want to and just go get yourself a good protected position, looking at a spawn closet and just wait. It'll take a while. They'll all come out, or the door will open. You start killing them right then and there. They'll start coming out. They'll start shooting back, but you can kill them off again. Basically, if as long as you take call to
arms.
Yeah.
You're gonna get 500 credits every time you kill one of these guys. Just sit there and keep popping them off.
Well,
that was another thing I learned on the.
Go ahead, no, after you.
No, just they've designed this thing for. Especially when those 2 spawn closets are there, especially if it's going good, it encourages you to keep going, because as long as you hang there, they're going to keep coming at you. So, I mean, some people are like, take it slow, wait till the area is clear, then they move on. That area is never going to be clear. The game definitely pushes you, keep going.
Yeah, you don't want to stay there unless you know what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, you can't. One or two people can stay in that little first area. In the bottom where it's dangerous, and you're fine as long as there's 1 or 2 of you that know what they're doing. But you definitely, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get swacked there pretty hard. I'll be honest with you. There were a lot of mornings where I got stuck on a work conference call or something, and I needed to, I just had to sit there and listen. And I'd get on, go to that very area, but get up in a overlook position and just sit there and kill the bad guys as they've pulled out of the closets, getting the call. And I would get, 80,000, 100,000, 120,000 in call to arms credits. And then the mission would pop and I'd get another 250 to 350,000 just sitting there. And the thing I do is I would bring, people would die and I'd, go down there and heal them. And so that they could keep going. And it was a lot of fun. And we got some new members from that, I think. Matter of fact, I think one of them may be watching right now.
Yeah, we got some new ones. Yeah. Yeah. So there was some, particular keys to completing the mission. We've already talked about, going in a group. We found that out. You can do it solo. I know of members in our organization that did it in a hospital gown and got all the way to the end. I mean, seriously, folks.
There's something wrong with them.
and you can do it. You can do that. But its ideal setting is about 10 to 15 people in fire teams to maximize your ability to clear the platform. Okay, that's really what it's designed for you to do. And so in that case, it is a really good crucible for small unit tactics and small unit leadership. So if you're an organization that's out there and you're looking, what can I do to help hone in my ability for my people to operate in a small unit piece, run this mission when it comes out again, because you will either figure it out or you will get slaughtered in trying to work through it. The other thing is, as Namidius had mentioned, it's a race. Okay, you have to move quickly to clear the platforms, to secure the transport so you can get to the end, and we'll come to the reason for that in just a little bit. But it is kind of a race. And the last thing I'll say as a key is location. Make a map and use it. Okay.
Yeah.
We had the benefit of working through the PTU and running it over and over and over again. You learn the building letters, because one thing I will say about CIG, the maps are really good, but there's not anything else besides that little map. There's nothing that you can't look up on the side of the building and it says A or B or anything like that. You have to know relative to how you're looking, and without a ground compass, unless you have the ability, you can't tell relative.
Let's not turn into Josh talking about targeting pods.
Well. I'm not talking about targeting pods.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm talking about, something like a compass. So unless you have that ability to take that map and then relatively look at the building and decide, just like Jay was saying, spin your laser up there and say, everybody go that direction, please. So look at it and make sure that you know that. How many people ran Siege out there and didn't realize that you had medical beds in some of those buildings that you could heal up to a tier 3 injury? After figuring that out, we mapped those things out the next day, so we had all that stuff. You had different types of ships on different types of platforms that you could use to fly to the final location. So we mapped those out as well, so and the final thing you need to do is know the shortcuts and the flow pattern that you need to move to the shuttles, because because of the nature of the mission, you might get onto a server and it's already being run. It's already been run. They're 30 minutes in, they're an hour in. The first platform's probably done. The second platform may already be done. Know how to quickly move through the platforms so you're not guessing at where to go for the next one. Those are kind of really keys to running the mission.
I completely agree. And we were successful as a groups with groups as small as 6 or 8 and as large as 30. So it just took a lot of teamwork. The one final thing that I will say before we go and get final thoughts from everybody is, the biggest thing I could say is it's in game right now. Even without the AI there, it's in game, and there is massive loot opportunities right this second in Siege. If you don't have a half a dozen to a dozen FS9s and 20 P4s sitting in your inventory at Orison right now, and rocket launchers and grenade launchers and sniper rifles that you want, you need to go in there and go on scavenging runs. It'll help you learn the map. It'll help you learn where the loot and the medical boxes and the medical beds are. And it's just a fun 40 minute to 1 hour thing to go do when you're bored and there's nothing else to do. You won't make a lot of money, but you'll definitely pick up at weapons that you can bring back and learn what the maps look like and where the buildings are and all that stuff.
Jay, I'll say it's questionable whether or not the NPCs will spawn for you right now, but you can definitely go and
they
run
will
through.
Not. Yeah, they won't. There's
you
no
can go
NPCs
run.
There.
So the gathering of weapons he's talking about is go to the bunker missions, do the bunker missions, and gather the weapons that you need.
No, there's a ton of weapons in loot boxes. Really? Right now. I just did it yesterday.
Well, you go.
Yep, there are loot boxes.
Trespassing for going there?
Nope, you get it restricted, but there's nobody there to trespass you.
You'll definitely see the flow of the mission and find where all the locations are. But we should talk about some of the cautions
Okay.
that happened during
What are
this.
some of the I think we might have mentioned most of them, but what
we
are
should
some
talk
of the
about
others?
it. The number one caution is chuckleheaded players, and chuckleheaded. I'm being nice, okay, when I say that, because this is a family-oriented show. All right,
Somewhat. We don't want to use
Chuck-
too many four-letter words.
chuckleheaded players can ruin your playthrough with this, and what I mean
Can
by
and
that
will.
is number one. The number one thing they do is they try to fly them daggum ships before they turn off the inverter for the platform. And what that means is the turrets and the missiles of that platform will blow them up out of the sky. You have to make sure that that's why I say it's a race. You have to make sure that you secure that heavy transport at the end, because there's only so many of them. Nam, how many of them are in the game? In the mission?
Something like 24 ships. I think something like 8 to the first 3
Now,
platforms, right?
of the Hercs, there's
Oh,
maybe
there's
of the Hercs,
six.
there's like a third of that. Yeah.
Six
or
maybe.
8, yeah.
6. So if you blow all those up, you're going to have a hard time on the other end making sure that you make it.
Because what
There's
you're left
only
with is
like-
Pisces and MSRs.
The MSRs are garbage. Okay, that's one of the other
Right.
problems with it. The MSRs are really only good. It's not ions and MSRs. The ion, you can at least drag, the AI NPC ships over to the platform once you've converted. You turn off the inverter, but the MSRs are practically worthless in this. The Pisces
They're not maneuverable enough to. They're not maneuverable enough to evade, and they can't tank enough damage to make them like the Hercs.
Yeah. The second chucklehead problem is that they stick to you like glue. Okay, when they figure out that you know what you're doing, you won't get rid of them. All right.
It's like a lost puppy dog following you around, except it's like a herd of them.
They are going to either kill you in the elevator, because there's only so many chuckleheads that will fit in the elevator. It's not a clown show. Okay, and a clown car. They'll either kill you in the elevator, or they'll do the last thing that we've talked about. They're not using suppressors, and the aggro is real. So they will go by, and one of the things that we learned as an organization, and Royal and Jonesy and all those guys that are out there, if you're listening, bet I'm giving a big shout out. The big shout out is don't shoot unless you absolutely have to, because once you learn the flow, just bypass them. Just bypass them. But the chucklehead in your group is going to start shooting from 150 meters, okay, with a compensator, and they're going to draw everybody over to you. They're going to stick on you like glue.
And then it's going to feel like the Mogadishu Mile at that point.
Yeah. We had one guy, I'm not going to say that the fire team that I was in, they know exactly who I'm talking about. At the very end, we revived that dude 3 times. The last time I told them, I pulled rank and I said, if he goes down again, we're leaving. Okay. We're not going to revive him again, because he brought everybody over to us, and it just makes for a less than positive experience sometimes. And there's a fine line between getting people and coming with your group, and then just getting rid of the chuckleheads as best you can. The elevators will kill you. Okay.
Oh yes.
And they are a major bottleneck in the design of this. And so CIG, if you're listening, can we have some outside stairs or something, dudes? I mean, seriously, have you ever been to a place that didn't have some stairs? Not all of us are mobile inclined that we have to take an elevator everywhere we go. But in this, you absolutely have to. There's no way to get from the upper to lower levels in some of these without taking the elevator, and they're choke points. And it's not go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
No, it's we would have preferred to generally run heavy fire teams, 6-man fire teams. And the reality is because of the elevators, we were often purposely running 4-man fire teams, because 4 or 5 is about all you could fit on an elevator before people start bumping into each other and killing each other.
Yeah.
And there was usually 1 or 2 randoms who would jump in with you.
Yep. And from this siege is how we worked into our, dare I say the doctrine word, the D word, into figuring out, hey, you figure out how we're going to go in an elevator, you announce it, and you stick to it every single time. That way you know where you stand in that elevator. But it really only works for about a 4-man fire team, because once you get 6, you play the pinball wizard inside the thing. Yeah. One of the other, go ahead, Jay.
Big thing that we learned was holster your weapons before going into the elevator.
Yeah.
put them on your back, and then then pull them out as you were coming up to the next floor. And then the other thing was, guys in the back don't shoot. Only the guys that are right up against the door can shoot, because I can't tell you how many times I got shot in the back because Chuckleheads, pickup players that we had grabbed, they would shoot, trying to shoot over me and hit me inadvertently.
Yeah, just look at Nam. He's lost all his hair because of it.
Hey. I did not mean to kill Jay that time, okay?
No, brother. That's just you and the grenade launcher. Okay.
No. This wasn't the grenade launcher. That was a different time.
No, that was in the PTU where it didn't really count.
Jay, you remember this. We went up in the elevator, and there was some guy ganking people coming out of the elevator.
Yep.
So elevator door opens. We both get shot. You go down. I'm injured. I'm not down yet. I managed to close the door in time to bring us back down.
Yep.
And I heal myself, and then I'm in the process of pulling out the medical gun, and that stupid glitch happens where it switches back to your first item before it switches back to what you switched to.
You shot and killed me.
And right as I'm pulling to use the med gun on him, it switches back to the FS9, and I unload on Jay. And he's in the process of filing charges against the guy who shot him upstairs.
And accidentally hit the button on you.
And he charges me.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was you, but you kind of deserved it. You shot me in the head at close range.
I'll accept it.
Chuckleheads. That's all I'm going to say. Chuckleheads. We've already talked about the low pop servers, bringing out the Navy ninjas. I honestly, I really like that part of it, of the mission, and it gives me hope that CIG is writing the right code. So if they're out there listening, the guys who did it, it was really something to see. Scared the crap out of us the first time we saw it, but it just really gives me hope that they'll actually be able to be a challenge, because most of the time they're not a challenge. And the last thing I'll say is it's designed as a marathon, but like I said, it's really a sprint. You really have to move it to get to the final platform to secure that heavy transport to go. So in the final assessment, I know, Jay, that I guess you'll go around the horn there and talk to everyone about the final assessment. So I guess we're to that point.
Well, I think
we want to take some questions.
I think what we're going to do, guys, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them now, either on YouTube or on Discord in the live show. If you're on YouTube, you have to subscribe to the channel to be able to ask questions. You may have to wait 60 seconds before you can ask a question in chat if you're just now subscribing. But go ahead and hit subscribe. I know we've got some comments that we're going to cover at the end, but anything that's related to this, I think we'll cover once we get done with this segment before we go to break. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. If you get a chance, you should be playing it. You should go explore. You should go learn it. It just kicks butt and takes names. Dolly, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, two quick points. One, there's a glitch, which I think RSI needs to fix, where I could pop into a server. All I want to do that day is cargo runs, mining, bounty hunting, whatever. The mission's there. I take the mission, do my own thing. I never step foot on Orison. And if the mission is won, I get 200K. It's not quite right. I should, as a minimum, be at Orison, go to the first platform, kill one NPC, and then, if that's all I do, I might 200K plus the 500 for Call of Arms, and that should be it. So I think they kind of need to adjust that a little bit, because even if I went there, did the whole mission with myself, plus whatever Call of Arms kills I have, I got 360. So if I do nothing and you all do everything, I get 200K. That's a pretty good deal for me. They need to adjust that one a little bit. Second thing is, I need to point out in 3.18, they want to use those platforms that were created for Siege of Orison and make a mission out of that. So hopefully we'll see that a little bit more on a lower scale in order to play that part of Orison.
Yep. Nam, what are your vote on the mission or final thoughts?
Much the same. I was thinking about how they're definitely, with all the work they put into this, I'm glad to hear they're going to recycle this for other things, like use one platform for like an assassination mission, stuff like that. Which is something they mentioned in the latest monthly report, I think. And I think they've learned. I'm just hyped for what's coming in the future because I think they learned a lot about developing these things just from doing this, because it's definitely beyond what things they've done before. They've learned a lot here, obviously. So
Definitely. And Turin, I'll give you the last word on this segment.
I'd say it's a great proving ground and test and training for small unit tactics and leadership, like I've mentioned before. If you're thinking about, how are you going to operate as a fire team in the future, take it to Siege. You'll figure it out, or you'll get killed. So
Yep.
it's a great place for that. If you want to learn about the medical play, this is the place to go. As we tell everybody, learn how to use the medical gun, or you will die.
Well,
So
and that,
please,
something else for other orgs that might be interested in doing training or something. This is a live fire exercise for CQB. Anybody can go to Orison, hop on that, go in there and practice CQB as a small org. And that could be a huge benefit.
Mm-hmm. We also learned the benefit of having, if not a dedicated medic as an additional member of the fire team, somebody on the fire team that was primary task medic. Was the go-to medic, that would hang kind of in the middle, not the end, but kind of the middle piece of it. And after at certain points, when you had kind of a short respite, they would pull out the medical gun, make sure everybody's topped off, and all that kind of good stuff. As Jolly alluded to, you'll be rich as greases when you're done with this, even if you do nothing at all. CIG, I agree, needs to fix that. But if you play the mission, you're going to get some cash. Okay.
I think they shouldn't fix that until after they do another database wipe in 3.18.
Well,
give us a couple weeks of big money so we have cash.
That's fine. I mean, whatever they need to do, but I agree with Jolly's comment that you should at least show up to Orison because, if nothing else, I need 200,000 just to fly out of Orison when I'm done. So, let's do that. And my last comment, Jay, is it's just plain fun. It's just
a ton of fun.
And you can't. I know Star Citizen itself is fun and everything like that, but really, this is one of the big things that I can say that this was just plain fun.
I agree completely. So let's go to some questions about Siege or comments, and go ahead and toggle these. And here we go. First one is Technofee, and I'm sure he's joking. So when are they going to put an IFF on a ship for us to buy? I'm going to be honest. I wish that they would run that mission once where we could fly ships in. Just once. Not all the time, but just once. Jolly, any comment on Technofee's question about the IFEs?
Yeah, well, it's meant to be an FPS mission, not a flying mission, with the exception of that little part at the end. But if we could fly ships in, we could. It's too overwhelming. So, no, keep it the way it is.
Just one time. It would be so cool to do air assaults. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not going to disagree.
Air assaults is the key. It would be A2 air assault bombs.
You do an air assault at the end.
Yeah, but I'd like to attack all the platforms simultaneously, but that's just me.
If air assault is the pilot yelling, "Get the hell out, get the hell out, get the hell out," that's what you're doing at the end. So
there you go. Okay, so
I would say one thing about Technofee's comment. I wouldn't mind seeing IFFs at ground installations that we could interact with and potentially convert and things like that. So maybe in the future for something like that.
Okay, and next question is from Traveler, who is a new junior staff guy. He's a prospect going through staff training with ADI. And he's commenting that basically anything under 60 on the server means that you get to meet the Navy SEALs / Delta Force love childs in Siege of Orison. I think that's an accurate way to look at it. That was somewhere around 50 to 60 is anything under that. They're pretty rough. Any comments or thoughts? Okay.
It's pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's a comment from Paul. He watched too many blueberries. There's something. Nicknames for stuff. We came up with the nickname of blueberries because of the little triangle over their heads. And the fact that they tended to like to pick up the blue armor that the guards were in, that were killed on the ground because like they didn't have any heavy armor. And we called them blueberries because they were dangerous. They were cute and cuddly sometimes, but they were freaking dangerous. Oh.
But bouncing the A2s off the tower? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did that.
Or
too.
worse. Or just hovering there, getting blown up without getting close enough to let you hop off.
Right.
The scariest thing, in my opinion, in all of Siege was going as a pickup player and having to climb onto a ship with some pilot that you didn't know and you couldn't talk to. You want to talk about, it's like 85% chance of death. You just
Even
didn't
if
know.
he's doing his job right, you don't know what the other chuckleheads on there with you are doing. Like, you know, when we were all in the A2, we're all getting out, and some random that had to be with us hops into the cyclone and runs everybody down as he rolls out of the.
I was going to say, no. How many times are we
A2.
there and we're on final and we hear the Novatech fire up behind us? And we're like, oh no.
Get the bleep out of the tank. Get out of the tank. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, here's a name that you'll like. Crack. Saying, all I need is a Pisces and a glass of scotch. Accurate. There are many times that he's saved our bacon. With that. One of the cool little mechanics that I think we should mention is kneeling and or laying down in the back of a Pisces. You can cram a lot of people into the clown car. I mean, you could get 6 or 8 guys in there if you have to.
Yeah, and until CIG, changes the force reactions, kneeling on a cargo deck keeps you from sliding the heck around. So
or blacking out.
Blacking out.
I will say, if you're going to ride in a Pisces, make sure the back door is closed at all times until you're ready on final approach. There were times, or one time, that I was sitting on the back, not on the ramp, but in the back, and the pilot, and I was on a knee, and the pilot went near vertical, and myself and Jonesy went tumbling out the back off the ramp and fell to our deaths.
Well,
Yeah.
So
that's partly just a little bit of desync can be all the difference there needs to be for you to end up inching out over onto the ramp, and then you're gone. So.
okay.
All right. Well, that's
Hold on
Orison.
1 second. Frack's got one more comment here real quick for us. 1 hour and 20 minutes from start to finish, doing all the LTs and final boss was our fastest run.
It was.
It was, yeah.
That was very amazing.
I think that's when we had over 40.
Considering how big those platforms are, you have to foot it across. That's pretty good time.
It's excellent timing. So I completely agree. So I think that's the last of these questions that we have right now. We've got some other questions up here, but we'll save them for the end because they're not directly on point. Guys, real quick reminder, we've got 16 people watching right now. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and that way you can chat with us or hop on the Discord server for HangarReady, and you'll see the URL fly by. And join us for chats, ask us questions. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes to start on segment 2.